So AI voice agents are the perfect blend between the hype of AI tech and seeing the advancements in the space and the practicality of what you can do given how much AI has advanced and the kind of use cases that these agents can serve. I like them a lot from the inbound standpoint of kind of like a front desk person, receptionist that can answer FAQs, that can speak to your company or can book appointments. However, there are also outbound cases that these agents can deal with. Those include being able to verify information. So maybe you have a business directory that you want to verify information for, or maybe it's some sort of lead qualification. If somebody fills out the form on your website, you can have the agent call that person to speak to him or her, verify the information, and then qualify whether they may be good for your service. And in this video, I want to speak through that case of lead qualification and actually an agent being able to make the call to a person, have the conversation, and then determine if that person would be a fit to work with your company. So I'm using an example of a solar company. So if you imagine a person who fills out the form on a website for this service company, this service company being a residential solar business, and a person fills out a website on a request for that particular service, in this case, solar. And now to build this out, you would use a platform like Retell.com. If you've seen my previous videos, then you've seen me do a number of videos on inbound retail agents and also post analysis of the calls to where you can view the transcript, you can view summary, you can listen back to the recording, and you can get different information about how the call went. In this case, the agent will actually be making the call and then updating the information on a sheet with all the information that would, in theory, be coming from a lead form. So now within Retell.com, you're able to create these different types of agents. And so when you're creating the agent, and I can just go back here to show typically what that looks like, you at the top right, click on create an agent, voice agent. I'm choosing a single prompt agent here. And I found that that tends to actually be the most effective and straightforward. And then you're just going to start from a blank sheet. So I've already kind of built this out for this demo. And then this here is the system prompt, and that's going to be completely blank to start. You can then use a Claude or ChatGPT, use it to do some research on your company. So if you go over to ChatGPT, for example, you can use something like a deep research or an agent mode. Typically, I'm using a deep research, and I'll literally have it search for information on the company. So if it's your own company, you're asking it to search for information on your own company. If it's something that you're doing for a client, then you're asking for it to search for information on the client, and it'll literally scour the whole internet to aggregate that information. And this is really an indication of just how far the tech is going, how fast it's moving, because a lot of this information that you'd be seeking, that you may even be putting together manually, is now out there. So you have that information, and if you're looking to get the template that I used for the system prompt, because this template includes really the sauce around how you make these agents kind of have a more human feel. So that means using a lot of contractions when speaking. It's your that's making sure to use filler words like and so and let me see. Including this kind of phrasing helps with the agent sounding more like a human and a little bit less robotic, keeping responses to 1 to 2 sentences. If you want the full prompt for this, uh, you'll be able to find it within the Pentridge Club, which is our AI community for those interested in taking this information further. So you can find that in there. And the link to sign up for the Pentridge Club will be in the description. So now, if you see this sheet right here that I have listed as lead qualification, you'll see I have these different headers here. And as I mentioned, this would be from a form that you fill out. So maybe you have a form that you fill out You could use something like maybe using a tally.so, maybe you're using a go high level, maybe you're using Zoho. Like someone is filling out a form on a site, and then you likely have an automation that you've built out that will populate the information from the form here. And then what will happen is the agent will be able to gather this information here and have it as context when it makes the call. So when it makes the call, it'll be able to, number one, verify that information, but then also, based off of the information provided, provide a answer to whether the person is qualified for the service, is a good fit for the service, and kind of like what next steps would look like. And that is all included within the prompt that we have. Here. I think I need to change some of this around. Service type, roof type, timeline to start, budget. I'm not sure if I used the budget. Did I use budget? Yeah, I used budget. Property type, city. Okay. Full name. So to start, what you actually want to do is you want to begin with a Google Sheets module. So there are going to be two parts to this automation. It's going to be the agent actually making the call, and then gathering the information from the lead qualification sheet, and then making the call. And then there's going to be a second workflow that's going to be the post call. I guess we can call it updating and analysis. So it'll have the call, have the conversation, and then afterward it'll update this lead qualification sheet, and that update can get as in depth as you want it to be. So let's say, for example, if you're qualifying a lead, and at the end of it, you need to create a quote for that person. It says, okay, the budget range is 15 to 20K. Saying the service type requested, the city that they're in. Maybe there are other questions that are part of your lead qualification process to help you determine if the prospect is a good fit, but maybe it's to determine the quote that they need, depending on the kind of service that you offer. It could then use that information and then draw a conclusion based off of that information to provide the quote, or provide the outcome of the information. So starting with this, you're going to create a new module, Google Sheets search rows, and I'll go and show you what's included within these different fields. So I have my lead qualification sheet. Sheet 4 is what it is. Then you're going to choose a filter. So in J, which is status, that filter is not called. So what'll happen essentially is the leads that haven't been called yet, this will filter just for those. And so the calls will be made to those who have the status filter as not called. If it has a status filter as called, then that person will not be called. And from there, you're going to use an array aggregator, which will take all the different column fields here, and it'll pull it together so that when the call happens, this agent has not just the not called column, for example, it has all the columns together. And then what that enables you to do is it enables you to then map each of those columns into a HTTP request, and that request, it's a post request, and that post request is going to be to the number that it's calling. And so in this case here, you see this phone number. This would be, for example, the number that it calls. I'm actually going to put this to my number ultimately so that it can call my number just to test it out. But this is what will determine the number it calls right here in this phone number. And then we'll go through the information for that HTTP request. But before we continue, I want to move to Retell. So within Retell, if you go to it's docs.retell.ai.com/deploy/outbound-call, it'll take you to this sheet here, which kind of talks about making outbound calls with Retell. And then if you go to create phone call API reference, it'll take you, actually, let me click here. It'll take you to the sheet where the first item here, and this is the API documentation, is create phone call. Now you can click on try it. And when you click on try it, it'll take you to this page, and I see my API keys right here. I will delete it after this demo, so don't worry about that. But if you take it right here, you will be able to then test out this outbound call and also get the data into the form that needs to be for this HTTP request module so that when it is in a live automated workflow, it's able to make the call to that number with the right fields and have those different fields as context to have the conversation. So within here, you're going to put the API key. The bearer is already there. And then you're going to put the API key. And then you're going to put the number for the agent, the outbound number that's attached to this outbound agent within Retell and the system prompt that's here. And then you're going to put in the number you're going to test it with. So your own number. And then you're going to create these different dynamic variables. So these dynamic variables are what is within this lead qualification document. And all you're actually going to do, so for example, if I wanted to add full name, like here, I've added each of the fields from that documentation: full name, phone number, email address, service type requested, and so on. If you wanted to add, for example, next steps, you just literally type in next steps, enter, and then you'll like literally just type in what you want that question asked to be. Then it'll create that within the conversation. I'm going to delete that from here because that's not a part of the demonstration. And then before we test this part out, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Retell, and I just want to show some of the settings. And so within the settings here, you have call settings. I will typically leave the timeout as 2.5 seconds. That's fine. Post call analysis, you're going to add caller number and caller name, and then just put a description there, full name of the caller, and then what is the caller's phone number. And it'll collect that information as variables that you could then use for the remainder of the automation. And that's going to be actually for the second half of the automation. Webhook settings, that's going to come in for the second part of the automation. And so we'll get back to that. Speech settings, I like the coffee shop background sound. It gives it a more natural feel. And then we're going to add backchanneling, which the backchanneling is kind of like the phrasing of words that are not part of the actual conversation, the and the and okay, like to make it sound more human-like. We're not going to have a knowledge base for this, and then the person that we use for it, I like Mira a lot. Mira's the only black woman. Well, actually, we also have Zuri, actually. But yeah, I'm going to use Mira for this. And then we're going to use GPT-4.1. So now, if you're aware, GPT-5 has actually launched now. And from what I understand, GPT-5 has a little bit more latency, and that it takes a little bit longer for GPT-5 to respond. But I imagine it'll be significantly more intelligent. For this tutorial, we're going to stick with GPT-4.1, but GPT-5 is something that you can play around with. GPT-4.1 is 0.045. GPT-5 is actually 0.04, so it's cheaper to use GPT-5 than it is to use GPT-4.1, which is pretty crazy to me. All right, so that's the first half of the automation here. And while we're at it, let's talk about the beginning part of the second half of the automation, which is what happens after the call is made. So you're going to start with a custom webhook. That's what's going to grab the information from the call and then make updates and do what it will afterward. So you're going to create a new webhook. You click on add, you name the webhook, and then it'll give you, once you name that webhook and add it, it'll give you a webhook address. You're going to copy address to clipboard, and then you're going to take it to Retell, go into webhook settings, and then paste in that webhook into webhook settings. And then from there, you're going to want to put a filter between the webhook and the next module, which will be a Google Sheet. That Google Sheet module is going to be the same. That Google Sheet module is going to be the same sheet, which I have to get it set up back here. That lead qualification sheet, and the sheet name is going to be sheet 4, and then the filter is going to be phone number, and then we're going to fill that in once the conversation has happened. So there's some testing we're going to have to do as a part of this, and we'll talk about some of these fields as well as we get further into this build. So I just want to go ahead first and actually just test out the outbound caller. So from here, we had everything filled out, and literally if we click send, it should now, the outbound agent should now give us like literally give us a call.
Hello, is this Aki? I'm calling from New Company, the solar company. You requested a quote for solar panels through our website. This will just take a minute to confirm your details. Is now a good time?
Yes, yes, it is. Let's talk about it.
Awesome, thanks. I just need to make sure we've got everything right so we can get you the most accurate quote. So I have your property listed as a house in Philly. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Great, gotcha. You're looking for solar, correct?
Yep, solar. Yep.
Perfect, thanks. And your roof type is shingles. Is that still accurate?
Yes, it is.
Awesome, thanks. Timeline-wise, you mentioned ASAP. Does that still work for you?
Yep, I need it as soon as possible.
Got it, ASAP, no problem. For budget, you listed $15K. Does that still sound right?
$10,000.
Perfect, thanks for confirming. And just to double check, this is the best number to reach you at, and your email is still the same, right?
Yeah.
Awesome, thanks. Based on what you've told me, the next step is a quick site assessment so we can get you an exact quote. Would Tuesday at 3 p.m. work, or is Wednesday better?
Tuesday at 3 p.m. We can probably do Tuesday.
Great, I'll put you down for Tuesday at 3 p.m. You'll get a confirmation email soon, and our specialist will give you a call then. Thanks for your time, and we're excited to help you go solar.
Definitely, thank you. All right, so that's what you do to test this out. I don't have calendar attached for this, but that sort of next step, which would be the third aspect to this, would be actually attaching a calendar where the agent can book and then place the appointment on your calendar. So now this was just to test out the agent and then gather the variables you're going to need for the HTTP module. So we're actually going to take this right here, specifically all the dynamic variables along with the agent name. So then this is what we're going to have the JSON looking like. So to show the agent ID and then all the dynamic variables, and then the number it's coming from when it makes the call, and then the number is going to, and then the direction is outbound. Are you going to put in JSON for the content type application/JSON body raw, and you're going to put in an API key from the session from the account, and then this right here is going to be the URL. It's going to be post, and this URL is going to come from that documentation, that V2 create phone call. And so then from there, we've already added in the status here for the not called. The array aggregator, we're just going to select all for the arrays. And just the Google Sheets search module, custom, target structure type. And then we can actually go and test it out right now. So right now, the variables aren't being mapped from the Google Sheets. Right now, it's hard coded in here based off of what I literally input, my name, property type, and so on. So we can just test it out, just to ensure that it works, and then we can go and map it out. So if I were to just click on run once, all right, so saying it was a bad request, expect a double quoted property name in JSON at 286. Actually, let me just run this right here. Yep, it's still not working. I can take this error. I can probably put this into chat. All right, so let's take this correction that it made, see if that solves it. I'll just run this module. Still an issue. Unexpected non-white space. Let's try it like this. Actually, hold on. All right, so I think we got it now. Let's try to run it. It's coming in.
Hello, is this Aki? I'm calling from New Company, the solar company. You requested a quote for solar panels.
All right, so we did that. All right, so we did that just so that we can make sure that it will make the call. So now that we've done it, and we know the call is going to be made, we can go ahead and now start mapping each of the fields from the sheet. So if we look at the array and we pull that out, we can just replace each field with the variable from the array. Property type, city, service type, requested, roof type, timeline to start, budget range, phone number. Then we know it's going to be the direction, outbound, and that's going to be that. And then I change this here just to number that we're going to actually be trying. So now it's mapped into here. So if I go ahead and click run once,
Unknown caller.
She's making that call.
Hello, is this John Smith? I'm calling from New Company, the solar company. You requested a quote for solar panels through our website. This will just take a minute to confirm your details. Is now a good time?
All right, so now we've got that first part of the automation completed. So it's making the calls. So if we were to have a list of like 100 people here, it would go down the line and make each of those calls. And so then we know the calls are being made. And then the next step is going to be the second half of the automation where, first of all, we have to test this webhook. So if we just run this module right here, and we put, I'm going to say wait for new data. Actually, what I need to do is redetermine data structure. So for redetermining data structure, what we're going to do is we're going to have the agent make the call. It needs to know how the data is coming through. We're going to have the agent make the call, start the run once from right here.
Unknown caller.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to answer and then redetermine data structure. Hello, this is Aki.
Thanks for taking that. I'm calling from a new company, the solar company. Requesting a quote for solar panels through our website. Just take a minute to confirm your details. Is now a good time?
Yes, it is.
Great, thanks. I just need
So
to
now if
make
we
sure.
end the call, you see it says successfully determined. So now it understands the structure that the data is going to be coming in as. And from there, now when we make the next call or have the next conversation, and this is run, we will be able to receive the data and continue forward with this automation. So what I'm going to click on is immediately as data arises. Actually, you know what? First of all, I want to save this, and then let's do run once. Let's do run once. Go back. Have this run.
Unknown caller. Hello, is this John Smith? I'm calling from new
See
company,
this
the solar
first?
company. You requested a quote for solar panels through our website.
Data came in, call
this will just
started. Then once we close it, call ended will come in, and then it'll be call analyze. Yep. So the call analyze came in. However, there are some updates we need to make to each of these modules here, as those aren't yet mapped. So you'll see here call analyze, which is what we want, and that's here we got the transcript, then we got the information regarding it. All right. So then we know that the Google Sheet is filtering through the phone number. Which is what we want, but we need to actually put what that number is here. So the two, that's gonna be the two number, right? And then that will then make it go through that row that has that phone number here. So if we go back to the sheet, now we can go through each module here. So this first module here is for the full name. The prompt we have for the system prompt is you are a master at synthesizing information. Your role is to review the transcript and parse out the appropriate information regarding a business directory listing. Based on the conversation, what is the full name for the business that the agent called? Only state the full name alone. For example, John Doe. Here is the transcript from the conversation. Although it should be actually full name of the person, not of the business in this scenario. So just say, what is the full name for the person that the agent called? Okay. And then the second one, phone number. So it looks like it does actually map correctly. This is going to be, I have email address there. So we need to rename that to email. Service type requested, property type. And you see they're all basically the same prompt, but just slight variation just to accommodate for the specific question, timeline, then budget. Was that input question marks for all of them? And then the last Google Sheet is going to be updating the sheet, just saying, well, first of all, we have to adjust these results. So full name here is going to be full name. Oh no, so full name is going to be here, phone number here, email here, service type, property type, city, roof type, timeline to start, budget, range, and then I believe that last one is not. How'd you hear about it? It's going to be status. And so status, we're just going to literally put called. So it'll update the status to called so that the next go around. Oh, actually, yep. And so that next go around, it won't call it again. So we have to redo this. Status called. Let's see. Yep. Full name, phone number, email address, service type, property type, city, roof type, timeline to start, budget range, status called. So it won't make that call again. So now we could actually run this from the beginning. And if I put the data to immediately, well, first of all, let's save this. Let's not lose any of our information. And then put this to run and wait for that new data. And then we run the sheet.
Hello, is this John Smith? I'm calling from new company, the solar company. You requested a quote for solar panels through our website. This will just take a minute to confirm your details. Is now a good time?
Yeah, now's a good time.
Great. I just need to make sure we have everything correct so we can get you the most accurate quote. So I have your property listed as a house in Philadelphia. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Awesome, thanks. You're looking for residential solar, correct?
Yes, I am.
Perfect, gotcha. Timeline-wise, you mentioned ASAP. Does that still work for you?
Yes, it does.
Awesome, thanks for confirming. For budget, you listed $15K, $20K. Is that still the case?
Yes, it is. You notice how I messed up the dollar sign.
No worries at all. I got what you meant. So just to confirm, this is the best number to reach you at, and your email is still the same, right?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Thanks for confirming. Based on what you've told me, the next step is a quick site assessment so we can get you an exact quote. Would Tuesday at 3 p.m. work, or is Wednesday better for you?
Tuesday at 3 p.m. sounds good.
Great, gotcha. I'll book you for Tuesday at 3 p.m. You'll get a confirmation soon. If you have any questions before then, just let us know. Thanks for your time.
Cool. So now, if I end this call, I just realized the agent wasn't turned on. We're going to try this one more time. Last time,
I'm calling from New Company,
call
the
started
solar
here.
company. You requested a quote for solar panels through our website. This will just take a minute to confirm your details. Is now a good time?
So that's all we need. All right. So now we should see the call ended come in, and then we see the call analyzed, and then based off of that conversation, it'll each of the modules will run through, and then you'll see the update happen within the spreadsheet. So you see how the status changed to called. It asked if the number was still the same, and that's why I changed it to 1 here. So what we actually needed to do was in the system prompt, we should have for it to also confirm the phone number, not just assume that a number is the same, both the phone number and the email address. That would have made that correct. And then yeah, I mean, you're able to take it as far as actually booking the appointment on the calendar. But this is the two parts of the automation. So it is able to fetch the information from the sheet. You can have a sheet of however many people you want, and then aggregate that information to provide it as context to use in the call. Make the call based on the number that's on the sheet. Have the conversation, and there's a prompt there for what that how that conversation is going to go. Again, you'll be able to find it in the Pinterest Club description below, and then calls over and will get analyzed, and then the appropriate fields will be updated on the spreadsheet, and then the status will be changed to called so that no more calls are needed. So this is the use case for an outbound agent that can qualify leads. It can provide quotes. If you look at, for example, the agent and the LLM is using, right? You have GPT-4.1 here, but you also have GPT-5, which is a better version of this. You have Gemini 2.5. You have Claude 4 Sonnet. And so when it comes to even, let's say, doing math, if you need to draft a code or you need to assess how this information is put together in order to provide an outcome, that it can do. It can do what the text models are able to do, except via voice and via having a conversation. So that's the outbound use case, and this will only continue to increase in demand, to where both inbound and outbound is something that is viable and practical in the climate and age of AI. And that's what I've got for you today, and I will see you